In October 2013, a 29-year-old FBI agent named Christopher Tarbell sat in a conference room in New York and watched a live feed from a San Francisco public library. On the screen, two agents approached a young man sitting in the science fiction section. They grabbed his laptop from both sides simultaneously, before he could close it, before he could hit any kill switch, before the encryption kicked in. The laptop was open, logged in, unencrypted. The young man's name was Ross Ulbricht. The laptop contained the entire backend of Silk Road, the dark web's most infamous marketplace, which had processed over $1.2 billion in transactions in 2 years. His personal journal, his financial records, his communications with vendors who shipped heroin and cocaine in vacuum-sealed packages to buyers across 40 countries. 2 years of investigation, compressed into the 30 seconds it took two agents to grab a laptop and a library. Tarbell had been hunting Ulbricht for most of those 2 years. He knew the architecture of Silk Road better than most of the vendors who sold on it. He had mapped the Bitcoin transactions, traced the server infrastructure, worked with Europol and GCHQ and a dozen other agencies across multiple continents. The arrest lasted about 11 seconds. This is what it looks like to hunt the dark web, not from the outside, from inside the agencies that have been doing it since before most people knew the dark web existed. Every level, every case, every moment where the gap between the criminal's anonymity and the investigator's patience turns out to be smaller than anyone expected. Level 1, the analyst, 23 years old, a government salary, a screen full of Bitcoin transactions that look like noise until they don't. You join the FBI or Secret Service or IRS criminal investigation straight out of college. Finance degree, computer science, accounting. The pipeline into financial cybercrime is wide because the skill set it needs is wide. You can code or you can follow money or ideally both. Your first assignment is not dramatic. You sit at a desk in a field office and you read transaction logs, forum posts scraped from dark web marketplaces that the Bureau's technical team has been monitoring, vendor profiles, shipping patterns, the specific way that Bitcoin moves when someone is trying to make it disappear. Bitcoin, it turns out, is not anonymous. It never was. Every transaction is recorded permanently on a public ledger called the blockchain, visible to anyone who knows how to read it. What Bitcoin provides is pseudonymity. Your wallet address is a string of letters and numbers rather than your name, but the transactions themselves are there, permanently, building a map that an analyst with enough time and the right tools can follow. Your job in the first 2 years is learning to read that map. The tools are more sophisticated than most people realize. Chainalysis and CipherTrace, blockchain analytics companies that work with federal law enforcement, have software that can cluster wallet addresses belonging to the same entity, flag transactions moving through known criminal infrastructure, and trace funds across dozens of hops that were specifically designed to obscure the trail. The software is good. The analysts using it have to be better. You spend 3 months on a single case, a vendor on a dark web marketplace who has been shipping fentanyl analogs to buyers across the US and Europe. You trace his Bitcoin withdrawals from the marketplace through 6 different mixing services to a withdrawal at a cryptocurrency exchange in Eastern Europe. The exchange has KYC requirements, know your customer, meaning they collected identity documents when the account was opened. You send a legal assistance request through the State Department. It takes 4 months to come back. The documents have a name. The name has an address. The address has a warrant. The vendor is arrested. He's 22 years old, living in his parents' basement in Ohio, and had no idea that the Bitcoin tumbling service he was using had already been compromised by German federal police 6 months before he started using it. 4 months of work, 1 name. It doesn't feel like enough. Your supervisor tells you it's more than most cases ever produce. You go back to reading transaction logs. Level 2, the case agent. 27 years old, your first real investigation. You're not reading someone else's map anymore. You're drawing your own. Case agent. Your name on the file, your calls to prosecutors, your decisions about which threads to pull and which to leave for later. The case is a marketplace, not Silk Road. That's already history by the time you get here, but one of the dozens that launched in its wake. Mid-sized, 10,000 users, vendors selling drugs, stolen financial data, counterfeit currency, a functional escrow system, a dispute resolution process, user reviews with the specificity of someone who takes customer feedback seriously. The marketplace administrator, you know him as Cipher, has been running it for 14 months. He's technically competent. He uses Tor. He uses PGP encryption for all communications. His servers are hosted in a jurisdiction that doesn't cooperate with US law enforcement requests. He has never made a public statement that could be traced to a real identity. He has also, at some point, made a mistake. They always make a mistake. Your job is finding it. You start with what's visible. The marketplace's Bitcoin wallet addresses, identifiable because they appear in transaction records from seized vendor accounts, the timing of administrator announcements versus forum posts on the broader dark web community, looking for correlations that might suggest a single author, the specific vocabulary and writing patterns in Cipher's communications, which you run against a database of forum posts going back 5 years. Then the break, a vendor cooperation. A mid-level vendor you arrested 3 months ago, facing a 10-year sentence for distribution, agrees to continue operating on the marketplace as a cooperating witness. He keeps selling. He keeps communicating with Cipher. He records everything. And Cipher, who has been careful for 14 months, gradually becomes less careful with someone he trusts. Over 6 weeks, Cipher makes 4 small operational security mistakes. Each one alone is meaningless. Together, they triangulate to a specific country, a specific time zone, a specific internet service provider, and eventually, the legal assistance request that takes 3 months, a specific apartment in Bucharest. You fly to Romania with 2 colleagues and a Europol liaison. Romanian law enforcement executes the warrant. Cipher is a 31-year-old software developer who has been running the marketplace from a spare bedroom, on a laptop, while working a regular tech job during the day. His real name is nothing like Cipher. He is cooperative from the moment the door opens, which tells you everything about how much of the persona was performance. Level 3, the Undercover. 31 years old. You are not you anymore. You are whoever the case needs you to be. This is harder than it sounds and easier than it should be. Not everyone goes undercover. It requires a specific psychological profile, the ability to maintain a false identity over months without the tells that trained investigators learn to read, the capacity to build genuine-seeming trust with people you are in the process of destroying, the emotional architecture to do both of those things simultaneously without one contaminating the other. You qualified. You trained. You have been someone else for the last 8 months. Your cover is a drug vendor on a major dark web marketplace. Your vendor account has 47 completed transactions, all controlled purchases coordinated with your team, all real product that was seized and destroyed afterward. Your feedback score is 98%. Your profile photo is a stock image of vacuum-sealed packages that looks indistinguishable from every other vendor's profile photo. The target is not the marketplace. The target is a fentanyl supply network that has been traced to 3 distribution hubs in the US and a manufacturing operation connected to a Chinese chemical company. The marketplace is how you get close enough. Your vendor account has attracted the attention of a larger supplier who has been reaching out to high-volume vendors about a wholesale arrangement. He goes by Professor and has been operating on dark web markets since 2016. His operational security is serious. He uses nested Tor connections. He communicates only through PGP encrypted messages. He has never conducted a transaction that can be directly traced to a real-world identity. But he wants to meet. Not in person, a video call through an encrypted platform, a face-to-face enough to establish trust before the larger transaction. Your team prepares for 3 weeks. The background behind you in the call is a generic room that reveals nothing. Your voice is slightly altered. Your vendor backstory is rehearsed to the point that you dream about it. The call lasts 22 minutes. Professor decides you're legitimate. The transaction takes another 6 weeks to arrange. The moment the product crosses state lines, you have what you need. The takedown is coordinated across 5 cities simultaneously. Professor is arrested in his apartment in suburban Atlanta. He is 44 years old. He has a wife and 2 kids in high school. His family had no idea. His wife, when agents arrived, thought they had the wrong house. You sit in a car outside his apartment for a while after the arrest and don't say anything. Your partner doesn't ask why. She's been doing this long enough to know what the quiet is. Level 4. The Operation Lead. 37 years old. You run the operation now. The decisions are yours. So are the consequences. Operation Bayonet. Operation Disruptor. Operation Dark HunTOR. The names change. The architecture is the same. You coordinate law enforcement across multiple countries. multiple agencies, multiple legal systems that don't always agree on what constitutes sufficient evidence for a warrant. You manage relationships with Europol, with Interpol, with the Dutch National Police, who will be your closest partners on the operation that's been building for 11 months. The target is a marketplace called Nexus, 40,000 users, vendors in 30 countries, an administrator team of 3 people who have been running it for 2 years with genuine operational sophistication, distributed server infrastructure, compartmentalized communications, rotating cryptocurrency wallets, and a demonstrated willingness to abruptly migrate to new infrastructure when they detect surveillance. They're good. They're also not good enough. The break came from a routine traffic stop in Germany. A driver transporting packages to a postal hub was pulled over for an unrelated traffic violation. The packages were flagged. Inside, 40 separate dark web orders, all bound for different addresses across Europe, all originating from a single Nexus vendor. The vendor's arrest leads to his communications, which leads to a server address, which leads to a hosting provider in Moldova, which leads, after 6 weeks of legal maneuvering, to an IP log that shows one of the Nexus administrators made a single connection through a non-Tor IP address. One connection. 6 seconds. Probably a mistake they made at 3 a.m. when they were tired and forgot to activate their VPN before checking something. You spend 4 months building the case around that 6-second window. The arrest warrants are issued simultaneously across 4 countries. The servers are seized before the administrators know the others have been arrested. But the move that actually matters isn't the seizure. After the seizure, your team, working with Dutch police who did the same thing to Hansa in 2017, keeps Nexus running. For 19 days, federal agents operate the marketplace, processing orders, handling disputes, maintaining the illusion of normal operations while collecting the real IP addresses, shipping addresses, and transaction histories of everyone who logs in. 19 days, 12,000 users, all of them believing they're anonymous. When Nexus finally goes dark publicly, the announcement specifically mentions the 19 days. The message isn't just, "We shut you down," it's, "We were you. We were in the room. We read your messages, and we know who you are." The psychological effect on the broader dark web community is visible within hours. Forum posts, paranoia, mass account deletions, vendors going silent, the uncertainty that law enforcement had planted, which other marketplaces are compromised, which administrators are already cooperating, spreading like a specific kind of dread through a community that runs on trust and anonymity. Doubt is more effective than any arrest warrant. You learned that from Hansa. You used it again here. Level 5, the Senior Investigator, 44 years old. You've run the operations. Now you brief the people who authorize them. The cases are bigger. The decisions are heavier. You brief the Deputy Attorney General. You sit in rooms where the decision to pursue a particular target has implications that extend beyond law enforcement, into foreign policy, into diplomatic relationships, into congressional oversight committees that want to know what authorities you're using and why. The dark web has changed since you started. The marketplaces are smaller and more numerous by design. Operators learned that large centralized platforms are more visible and more vulnerable. The current ecosystem is fragmented. Dozens of mid-sized markets instead of one Silk Road. Decentralized exchanges that don't require user accounts. Monero instead of Bitcoin, a cryptocurrency that is genuinely harder to trace because the blockchain is private rather than public. Harder, not impossible. The job has changed too. The technical complexity has increased. The international coordination has become more sophisticated. You now have a standing relationship with law enforcement counterparts in 12 countries, and joint operations that once took 2 years to coordinate can be stood up in months. The legal frameworks have evolved. The courts have clarified what evidence collected from foreign servers is admissible. The prosecutors who work these cases are more experienced. What hasn't changed is the fundamental asymmetry at the center of every dark web investigation. The people running these operations believe that technology makes them invisible, and technology does make them very difficult to find. But very difficult is not impossible, and impossible is what you need to be indefinitely without a single human error across years of operation. Nobody has managed that yet. The person you're briefing today is a 26-year-old who has been running a marketplace for 18 months and believes he has learned from every mistake that came before him. He has read the Silk Road case documents. He has studied the Hansa operation. He knows about Operation Bayonet. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. Nobody ever does. The warrant is being reviewed. You've seen the evidence. It's enough. Closing. Ross Ulbricht is serving 2 consecutive life sentences at USP Tucson. Alexandre Cazes, who built Alphabet into the largest dark web marketplace in history, died in a Thai jail cell 4 days after his arrest. He was 25 years old. The administrator of Hansa, a Dutch national who thought his distributed server architecture made him untouchable, was arrested in his apartment in Germany and is currently serving 11 years. The pattern is consistent enough that it has become predictable. Build the marketplace, grow the marketplace. Believe with increasing confidence as months pass without arrest that you have finally solved the problem that destroyed every predecessor. Make the mistake, get found. The mistake is never the same twice. A forum post from 5 years ago with a real email address, an automated welcome message sent from a personal account, a single non-VPN connection at 3 a.m., a cooperating vendor who had been trusted too much. The technology holds. The human being using it doesn't. The investigators who have been doing this work, the analysts reading blockchain data at government salaries, the case agents tracing 6-month-old server logs, the undercovers spending 8 months as someone else, they don't work fast. They work patient. They build the case in layers over years. They wait for the mistake they know is coming because it has always come. The dark web isn't going anywhere. The marketplaces will keep launching. The anonymization tools will keep improving. The investigators will keep reading the blockchain. And somewhere in a transaction log right now, in a 6-second IP connection, in a forum post from years ago, in a welcome email that went out automatically to the first 100 users, is the thread that ends the next one. It's already there. They just haven't found it yet. If this is the kind of story you want more of, the real version, told from the inside, subscribe. It helps more than you'd think. And if you know something about this world that we got wrong, the comments are open. We read them.